It's time for dinner.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
From the creative mind of Scott Bertelson, after 4 decades of teaching our impressionable youth,
The dinner bell.
you are invited to enjoy conversational morsels for the mind at Mr. B's dinner party.
Yeah, dinner.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Well, hello, everybody. Is that the dinner bell?
Mr. B's got a table so wide. Pull up a chair, let your worries slide. School days, tales, and a movie or two. He's serving up wisdom with a side of stew. Belly up to the table, my friend. The feast of thought will never end. From travels far to a spiritual climb, morsels of musing served in rhyme.
Is it time once again for Mr. B's dinner party? I think it is. Do you have a big, hearty appetite? Would you like to belly up to the table? Are you tired of me saying that? And get ready for a scrumptious meal. I'm so happy that you're here. And I hope that you're settled in your chair with your coffee. Did you put some creamer in it? Okay, let's go! My happy friends, I don't really have a title for this segment, but last time we got together, or last time I recorded, I talked about why I decided to do a directing experience, a co-directing experience for the BrickStreet Theatre, and how successful it was and how exciting it was and how I thoroughly enjoyed it 100%. But being an elderly person, I can't retrieve names as readily as I used to. Most of the time I know my name and my identity, but if I don't, I carry with me my driver's license so that I can check that. Anyway, you think I'm kidding, huh? Anyway, I forgot to mention the name of the cast members and everybody who helped with the show. So Troy, as he puts this segment together, can call it whatever he wants, or he can just call it a happy additional add-on. So anyway, in the great show Nunsense, which, by the way, did again sell out 4 of the 6 performances. Yeah, I went there. Yes, I did. Anyway, our Mother Superior was Julie Keeley, who did an amazing job. And Ann Munson played Sister Hubert. And Michelle Murray from Mason City played Sister Amnesia, who does, I'll give you a spoiler here, she does find out who she is at the end. And then Vanessa Doden was Sister Robert Ann, and Arlene Mueller was Sister Leo. And this was so exciting that I had the opportunity to work with 3 students, former students, Ann Munson, Vanessa, and Arlene, in this show. And wow, talk about camaraderie. Wow, talk about getting along with each other. Wow, talk about wanting everybody to do the best that she possibly could. And people say to me, well, what was it like to work with a female co-director? And Elizabeth Taylor was brilliant. Loved her, still do. And 5 women. Did you have pettiness going on? Well, I am happy to tell you, no, we had none of that. We were one for all and all for one. And we were very, very, as I guess I've already said, but I think it's warranted to repeat it, supportive of each other, wanting to produce the very best possible show that we could. And I think the numbers of people who attended would justify that and tell you that they were interested in the show and liked the show. Also, there were other people I wanted to thank for being in the show and helping with the show. And I am looking, at the program. One would be Linnea Fredrickson Smith, the artistic director. I have known Linnea, it seems like since middle school, when she was in middle school. And I've done many high school plays and musicals with her. I've known her for years. I consider her a great, great friend. And we get together and do coffee and talk about life. And I am so grateful that she gave me this opportunity to be a part of this show. And she was so supportive. Whatever I would ask for, she would get. She would help in any shape or form. She is an absolutely wonderful artistic director. And in part, I think that's the reason why BrickStreet Theatre has grown by leaps and bounds, being what I consider highly respected as the best community theater in the North Iowa area, or I would even go so far to say in the whole state of Iowa. I said it, and I mean it. Absolutely. I've been to other community theater shows, and I'm not trying to be critical, but I have never seen a show at BrickStreet Theatre that was subpar. Never. The casting is always great, the direction, the sets, the costuming, the lighting, the sound, everything. Top notch. I also wanted to thank, of course, Arlene Mueller for her choreography for this show. She was phenomenal. This show, unbeknownst to many people who are trying out, is very heavy with music and dance. And that included tap dance, which I don't think the majority of the 5 women really knew much about. And they were asked to do this. And Arlene spent countless hours doing the choreography for these numbers and practicing and sending them videotapes so they could watch the dance. And in addition to that, she developed this character that she played on stage absolutely beautifully. She played Sister Leo as this tap dancing nut who felt like she should be able to wear a tutu anytime she wanted to on stage, and how she really had to make a decision, her character, in the show, whether or not she would be a nun or would she pursue her dance. And she decided that the call of the Lord was a bigger issue for her, and that's what she does. It's so enjoyable to watch. Also, I wanted to thank our stagehands, Mary Chambers and Curtis Mueller. Curtis was the wonderful husband of Arlene and would come in and do any kind of set work you would ask him. He even dressed like a nun for the nights of the show when he was working backstage. Now, not all men would do that. And so when he came out on stage and was sweeping and had this massive beard and this nun's outfit, I mean, it just generated hilarious feedback from the audience. And Mary Chambers, great woman from Garner, very involved with music in her church, tried out for the show. Unfortunately, we had more people try out than we could cast, but Mary very diligently said that she would come back and be a stagehand, and I hope she had a wonderful time. I got to know her so well. Really enjoyed all the work that she did in the show, and I felt like our main cast really made her feel welcome. I also wanted to offer thanks to Liz Taylor, my wonderful co-director, Curtis Mueller, and David Jones for their set construction. Our set was very simple. It was a one-set show, which was wonderful, and the major framework was already up there, so it was just a matter of modifying it. And I can tell you that Liz came in on her own time, well beyond practice times, scheduled practice times, to paint and to cut out letters. And she was the inspiration behind all the signs. She wanted to generate the look of a gym. So we brought in a tarp for the floor, just like a gym. And then we had signs that she spent hours on with the records for the fictional St. Helens School for swimming and track and basketball and that type of thing. So you would get that feeling that you were actually in a gym. And that was brilliant. really brilliant. And I can tell you when we first started getting together, talking about our vision for the show, that I was right on board right away when she said that. And of course, we had to have the feel of a Grease show, of the production Grease, because the eighth graders in this show are putting on a production and the nuns are just borrowing the stage. So we had the great big Grease sign, and we had the jukebox, and we had pictures of people from the 50s, and, just to try to give you that flair. And then our props person was Devin Snitzer, and Devin was remarkable. Every night she'd write a report about how things went, what we covered, what the assignment was for next time. You could ask her to find any prop, anytime, anywhere, and she could find it. I mean, never said, oh, I don't have time for that. Oh, I don't know where I would get that. Nothing like that. I'd never been so spoiled. I didn't get that opportunity in the high school setting. And that's why it was such an enriching experience for me to be a part of this show, that there was such a great group of people working together. Light design with Dan May. Oh, my God, how much I respect and love that man. Came in and gave of his own free time to set the lights for the solo numbers or duets or the full effect. And then he came in later and adjusted our sound so the people on stage could hear, and then they could stay attuned to the music. He was amazing. So thank you so much. Also, Melanie Slater was our sound engineer who had to operate our electronic music. And that's no easy task, I might tell you, because with this electric score that we use instead of a live orchestra, you could cut music, you could slow it down. It is a miraculous what you can do with it now. Whereas when we used to do it, I remember in high school when we started using recorded tracks, none of that was available. And she has the patience of Job. I mean, she was incredible. Lightboard, Dan Meyer. Thank you, Dan Meyer. Can't tell you enough of how much I respect and adore Dan. Did spring plays with him for a number of years. Was a wonderful co-director. He still now does the spring plays, does a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job with the spring plays. They're always an event that I wish more people would attend because they're brilliant. What he chooses for shows, the staging, costuming, all of it. And he was our light guy. He also did some narration from the loft. He was great. Mike Brown, who brought food all the time. Thank you, Mike. Was the guy who operated the spotlight. And I asked him if he would do it. And he said he would, and I'm so grateful. There wasn't any place for Mike in this show. He's been in so many BrickStreet shows. He's an avid advocate for the BrickStreet Theatre, and he was amazing. And then I also want to give a shout out to our social media marketing person, Abby Wells, who does all of the advertising on the posters and in our Facebook segments, all of that. Our logo graphics was Samantha Stenerson, and I thought our poster was just uproariously funny, creative, well done. Just so great, so great. And I also want to give a shout out to the BrickStreet Board of Directors, and they are President Laura Peterson, Vice President Melanie Slater, Treasurer Amanda Fritz, Secretary Kyle Ennis, and the members are Valerie Faugstad, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, Nate Forsberg, Amanda Fritz, Jeff Smith, Josh Bargrove, Sean Thompson, Barb Ritter, and Kelly Ruth Winter. And those people also volunteered for being ushers and helping in lots of different ways for the show. Even Mike Brown, before the show, would escort people. He was dressed as a priest, and so was Dan Meyer. And they would, especially Mike, would escort people to their seats. and treat them like they were in a holy area. And that was really great. I also, again, want to thank Linda Furjak, who I reunited with as a music director for this show, where we worked on lots and lots of musicals together. And Linda never hesitated to say, yes, I would do this when I asked her if she would be the music director. I don't think she knew it was going to take as much time as it did. Is that right, Linda? Is that right? Anyway, she was amazing and very, very meticulous, as I always remember her. Very, very driving, wanted to make sure they got it right. And she did. She does not settle. And I've told her many times that Linda Furjak has one of the strongest work ethics I have ever witnessed in my life. And it surely was the case here. So if I've missed anybody, I greatly apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I do want to thank Michael Burns for making our short film, which we didn't use. Sorry, Michael. I want to thank the Forest City High School for the lending of the tarp, Megan Duncan for the rosary that she made, Karen Frederickson for taking care of the costumes, Megan Keeley for making our cake that we had on stage, Griffin Metters for some props, and I want to thank the Quilted Forest for the loan of the locker that we used in the show. So don't forget to keep attending BrickStreet Theatre shows, whether it's in the small space or whether it's at the Bowman. And don't ever tell yourself that you can't help. If you don't want to be on stage, you could be a stage manager. You could work backstage. You could help with costumes. You could help with props. You could help with the set, whatever it would take. But they need your help. And it was, for me, a very heavenly experience. So I thank you to everybody that I've mentioned for helping to make the show the success that it was. Nunsense. What a way to go.
Let's have a seat round the proverbial table
Would you like to say grace?
with a nod to our higher power and Mr. B's spiritual journey.
My happy friends in recovery. Today I'm going to be focusing on powerlessness. Now, I surely talked about that before. This has been addressed when I talked about the 12 steps, or if I talk about the 12 traditions, or if I talk about my daily regimen of how I have to give it over to a higher power. And I have to constantly tell myself that it's because of my higher power, which I call God, that I am clean, that I am abstinent every day, that I do not eat my poisonous foods, which will send me into a tailspin, and I can stay sane emotionally, intellectually, physically, all of the above by choosing the right food to put into my body. So I know that it's not willpower. It is not willpower. No. I tried that. Didn't work. It's not diets. I tried that. It didn't work. It is saying to my higher power, I cannot do this on my own. I'm completely insane when it comes to my eating. And I was. I could give you hundreds of examples. Please remove this from me and let me do what is right for your service. And you might say that that is very Pollyanna or very, very simple-minded. You can say whatever you want. I know it works. And if I catch myself criticizing people, then I have to I'm not practicing my program. If I'm jealous of people, if I'm extremely angry for some reason, I'm not practicing my program. And I have to make apologies. I have to make amends. Or I have to turn to my higher power and say, help me with this. I can't seem to control it myself. Bottom line is, folks, I cannot control my eating. I cannot. That's why every day I plan 3 meals a day, sometimes with a snack in between. And, for example, I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. Do I want to get on the scale? No, I do not. Am I frightened of a scale? Yes, I am. Because I'm guessing probably even being abstinent and even getting exercise, that the scale is not going to reflect exactly the weight that I would like it to be. But you know what? It's not going to make me want to overeat as it used to in the past, which is complete insanity. If you want to lose weight and you're overeating, that makes no sense whatsoever. But instead, I'm going to say, evidently, this is where my higher power wants me to be, with my weight. And am I healthy? Yes. Am I happy? Yes. Am I mentally clear? Yes. So it's a win-win-win. Win-win-win. All right, here's a reading about powerlessness. When I first came to this program, I had already lost 90 pounds, but I was struggling and knew I needed help. As soon as I walked into the doors of a meeting, I knew I was in the right place. I thought I had taken step 1 that first night. I was certain that I was powerless over food, or I absolutely wouldn't be here. Well, I continued to eat the same way I had been eating. I ate all the foods, but I limited the quantities of my favorites. I didn't even have bench foods. Of course, I still struggled, even though I was working the steps. I started eating more at meals. As long as part of a meal, I was still abstinent. Right? I only ate 3 meals a day. Eventually, my higher power got a message through me through a food fog. And yes, I've had many food fogs, my friends. He made me realize that I was playing with fire. If I have too many handfuls of peanuts, my friends, I am playing with fire. If I do not try to measure my protein, my meats that I eat at night, I'm playing with fire. If I have a non-fat, low-fat yogurt as part of my protein, and I decide I'm going to have 2 containers instead of 1, I'm playing with fire. I realized, as this person writes, I had not taken step 1. Amazingly, when I gave up my binge foods, abstinence became easy. The compulsion was lifted. Miracles happen when you work the steps honestly. For today, I will be honest about my binge foods. And every day I tell myself what I'm going to have to eat that day, and I try not to deviate from that. And if I do, then I have to my higher power knows everything, but I need to take myself and make myself clean to my higher power and vow not to do that again. There's no such thing as, in my mind, daily perfection. You can get your food intake as close to perfection as possible, but that's not the point of this program. The point of this program is to progress every day and make progress every day and not beat ourselves up every day. Here's one. This program has given me a newfound freedom. The freedom that comes as a result of practicing unconditional love and acceptance of who I am today. In my 4th and 5th steps, I realized what character traits and behaviors had outlined their usefulness to my life. I saw that my old ways of reaching out to the world kept me from reaching my full potential. In step 6, I became willing to let go of whatever stood in the way of my being present to life. Once again, let me repeat that. I became willing to let go of whatever stood in the way of my being present to life. I am powerless over fixing myself, but I am not helpless. I should put that on a t-shirt. Let me repeat that. I am powerless over fixing myself, but I am not helpless. I can pray for the willingness to be willing to surrender and allow the natural progression of change to unfold in God's time. I can even enjoy myself in the process. OA, or I should say this program, has given me back my power. Today, I choose to practice unconditional self-acceptance while I relish the mystery of change. The mystery of change. Your higher power always knows what is best for you. And so if you wake up one day and you don't seem to have a passion for something that you used to, I believe that's your higher power speaking to you. Maybe that passion has been misguided, or your higher power doesn't feel like you should pursue that anymore. If that's the case, he's going to take that from you. I do believe that. And then set your sights on a different direction. So every day is a learning adventure. And if you turn it over and trust your higher power, there's no need to worry about it. It's going to be taken care of in God's time. Let me share two more. This one starts, I don't need much, God. If I could just get to my perfect weight. Does that sound familiar? My life would be perfect. Such was my belief when I arrived. I didn't know this belief would leave my mind battling daily with the food and losing, that my relationship would still be a mess, while thoughts of food engulfed my mind. I love that phrase. Thoughts of food for years did, for me, engulf my mind. Or that my life would still be unmanageable. Too often, even after years of recovery, I forget that God does not need instructions from me on how to run my life. Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. God doesn't need instructions. Not at all. God knows all my problems. He knows all my pains, and he knows all my fears and the inane situations I have often plotted in my mind. I need only recall that many years of my best thinking brought me to this program. God does not need a task list from me. For today, I will remember to let an infinite higher power enrich my life and broaden my horizons with his will, rather than shortchanging myself with the finite limits of my own human vision. Oh my gee. I'm going to read that whole paragraph again because I want you to smear that on your abstinent heart. For today, I will remember to let an infinite higher power enrich my life and broaden my horizons with his will, rather than shortchanging myself with the finite limits of my own human vision. Let your higher power take you. Let your higher power direct you. Let your higher power love you, because your higher power does love you. Oh my gosh. That just is remarkable. And speaking of remarkable, I have one last reading. This person says, after 21 years in the program, I began to understand step 2 as a process. When I began my program, God was in my life, but I didn't understand God's part in restoring me to sanity. I struggled for years trying to do it myself, making and breaking diets, planning rewards and punishments, setting goals and never reaching them, always failing. Always failing. That sounds like me, folks. Making and breaking diets, planning rewards, setting goals, never reaching them. I did it for years. Now back to the text. Not until I began to let go of my old beliefs and open my mind to new ways of thinking did I begin to understand what came to believe that a power greater than myself meant. It meant that God is greater than me, that he loves me enough to restore me to sanity if I ask each day, and that I can trust him to do it. Yes, you can trust your higher power 24/7. My work is to give my eating to him each day. His work is to restore me to sane living and eating. The results are his, they are not mine. Warranted to repeat, the results are his, not mine. Now I'm making a shift from a me-centered life to a God-centered one. Oh my gosh. Once again, put that on a t-shirt. I want to live a God-centered life, not a me-centered, because a me-centered is invitation to disaster. But a God-centered one means my higher power is going to take care of me and is going to love me no matter what. My higher power knows all my strengths and limitations, and he is going to do for me what he feels is right. So powerlessness, my friends, is a very positive word to me. At first, coming into this program, I thought, what? What are you talking about, Willis? Powerlessness? I have the power. I have the willpower. Oh, yes, I do have willpower for many things. But not at all. Not at all when it comes to my eating. I don't know why I was born this way or made this way. I have no idea. I just know who I am and what I have to do to maintain my sobriety. So folks, never ever think that you are a weak person when you say you have powerlessness over your eating. You are not. You are strong. You are invincible. You are a child of God.
For the next course, come one, come all. Nothing spoiled here. From comfort classics to what's hot now. Film reviews from Mr. B's Rewatchables.
It's the night of the senior prom. The Bates High School gym is alive with excitement. Everybody is there.
All right, folks, let me apologize up front. Recently, I did my Halloween special where I talked about some of the top horror films of 2025. And there's many that I left off. And I told you how much I love really well-made horror films. And so the other day, I was thinking about, well, what could I talk about on this podcast for a film? Would it be a romance? Would it be an action film? Would it be science fiction? Would it be the supernatural? Would it be horror? And all of a sudden, I thought about one that I saw in 1976. Oh, yeah, 1976. I was in high school. I was a junior. I saw this movie at the Palace Theatre in Mason City. Do you know where the mall is now that doesn't have any stores in it? But I'm sorry. But that was the area where was the Palace Theatre. And that we did not have cable. We did not have streaming. We did not have thousands of channels. We would just go to the movies. And I had the chance to see the movie Carrie, Carrie. Now, there have been many remakes of the film Carrie, and I've seen one. I believe it's also being made into a series for streaming by the director Mike Flanagan, who made the series for Netflix, Midnight Mass, and the House on something Hill, and also did some other rendition of Fall of the House of Usher. That was it. Brilliant director. And maybe the TV series will be good. But this film, to me, was the quintessential scary film that came out in 1976. It's an American supernatural horror film directed by one of my favorite directors, Brian De Palma. Brian De Palma doesn't make films anymore, but he did direct films such as The Untouchables, Blowout, Dressed to Kill, lots of other movies too. And it starred one of my favorite actresses who's still acting. She's just recently in a film with some actress. I can't think of her name right now. Anyway, Sissy Spacek.
Starring Sissy Spacek.
Spacek, and she played Carrie White.
Carrie White. The girl no one likes.
Who was a shy teenage girl. This is all based on a Stephen King novel, which I read in high school too. Who's constantly mocked at school and bullied. It's really horrible. She finds out that she has the power of telekinesis.
The girl with the strange power.
If I concentrate hard enough, I can move things.
which is the ability to move things, and she starts to use this to her advantage. And she, unfortunately, uses it to wreak vengeance on her tormentors. The film also starred Piper Laurie as her mother.
The girl who lives in that creepy house with her crazy mother.
Help the sinning woman see the sin of her days and ways. Show her that if she had remained sinless, the curse of blood would never have come on her.
Amy Irving, who played one of her classmates. Nancy Allen, who played one of her classmates. William Catt, the young man who took her to prom. Betty Buckley, who still performs. Betty Buckley has been a stage actress and a great singer and a theater actress. And, of course, one of the first starring roles pre-Saturday Night Fever of John Travolta.
And introducing John Travolta in his first motion picture role.
And it was the first film of what many people would consider the Carrie franchise. But I don't care for the rest of them. I only care for the original. As I said, it's based on King's novel. De Palma was intrigued by the story and wanted Sissy Spacek, who was definitely not a teenager at the point, even though she definitely looks like one in the film, to try out for this film. And thank goodness that she did, because she is the starring role and reason that this film has been so popular. Significantly influenced our culture. It was even made into a Broadway musical. Yes, Carrie was made into a musical. I believe it ran on Broadway 1 or 2 nights. Complete fiasco. I have seen that different colleges and universities now do the musical. I cannot make any comments about the music. I don't know whether it's good or bad. I have a little trouble believing that Carrie could be a musical, especially with the horrific prom scene where she wreaks havoc on everybody. But maybe I'll see it sometime. It's been listed as 15th on the list of Entertainment Weekly's list of the 50 best high school movies. And the film's prom scene, which is horrifying to watch, beautifully filmed, beautifully done, had a major influence on popular culture and was ranked 8th on Bravo's 2004 The 100 Scariest Movie Moments. And it has also been selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry. Let me tell you a little bit more about the plot. Sissy Spacek plays a 16-year-old, very shy student who's bullied. When she experiences her first period in gym class in the shower, she panics, not knowing anything about the makings of the human body. Her classmates ridicule her, hurt her, until her gym teacher, Miss Collins, comes in to intercede for her. And then her mother is a religious fanatic, Margaret, tells Carrie that her period was caused by sin, and she locks her in a closet to pray for God for forgiveness. The mother was definitely needing some kind of medication. Miss Collins reprimands her tormentors at school, threatening them not to let them go to prom.
You know, I can make sure that you don't hurt Carrie White anymore.
One of the bullies doesn't do what Miss Collins says and is kicked out of prom. So then she seeks revenge on Carrie. One of the girls, played by Amy Irving, convinces her boyfriend to ask Carrie to the prom as a way of saying that she's sorry for what happened to her.
If you don't have a date to the prom next Friday, would you like to go with me?
She's with the best-looking boy in the senior class.
He's trying to trick me again.
She'll be voted queen of the prom.
And Carrie is very reluctant to say yes, because why would this popular boy want to take her to prom? But she ultimately does. Chris, the gal who was kicked out of prom, and her boyfriend, Billy Nolan, played by John Travolta, slaughter a pig and drain the blood into a bucket. And they plan to place that above the school stage in the gym. And they elect a king and a queen, and they rig it so that Carrie and her date will win.
For Carrie, it will be a dream come true. For everyone else, it will be a nightmare.
And then, unfortunately, as you can probably tell where this is going, Chris and her boyfriend Billy sneak in, and they dump the pig's blood all over Carrie and her date on stage. And at that point, Carrie has her telekinesis kick in, and she's absolutely horrified and embarrassed and kills the majority of people at the prom. Now, you might say, well, that doesn't sound very pleasant. Well, it's not. But she makes sure all the doors are locked. She sets the school on fire, and then she just walks out herself. But she's been so incensed with what has happened to her that she blames everybody in the gym, which is not the truth at all. She even kills the teacher, Miss Collins, and Tommy, her boyfriend, is hit by the bucket and he's unconscious. He dies too. She exits the building while everybody else is entrapped inside. She comes home, and her mother plans to kill her because her mother sees her as wicked, as being devil spawn, that you should not be sexually attracted to boys. She had a very twisted viewpoint about religion. Carrie unfortunately kills her mother by telekinetically sending knives flying towards her, and the house is destroyed. One of my favorite scenes in a horror film is at the end where Sue, whose boyfriend was Billy, who died in the prom fire, she's the only sole survivor of her friends. She, in a dream, comes upon a site where the house used to stand, and it says a for sale sign. And then somebody has written in black paint on the sign, Carrie White burns in hell. And then she reaches down to put flowers on the spot, I guess as a sense of grave. And Carrie's bloody arm reaches from beneath the rubble and grabs her. And then she wakes up screaming as her mother tries to comfort her. And that's the last scene of the film. And I remember that scene distinctly. When that bloody hand came up through the rubble and grabbed Sue, I jumped 40 feet into the air. And even to today, and I've seen the film many, many times, because of the brilliant acting and the brilliant special effects and the combination of the two, I still find it absolutely horrifying. It was the first Stephen King novel to be published and the first to be adapted into a feature film. And many people auditioned for the part of Carrie. Melanie Griffith was one, but Sissy Spacek got it, and she's gone on to make many great films. She played Loretta Lynn in The Coal Miner's Daughter. She was in the TV limited series on Netflix, Bloodline. She's been in many other films too, and still to this day is a superb actress. And so I would say, if you're looking for a film that holds up very well, even made in 1976, if you're a fan of Stephen King, I really recommend you see the original, may I underscore, original. Not to say that the rest aren't good, but they are nothing like this film. See the original Carrie with Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie, who plays her mother, who unfortunately has died. And it will make you sit on the edge of your seat, and it will make you think twice about how to treat people and how bullying, even though in this film it's done to the extreme and the penalty for it is highly extreme, is never appropriate. Never appropriate. So put yourself in the shoes of that person that you think you want to verbally or physically abuse or torment. It never pays off. That's one of the greatest themes, I think, of this film. So look for it on streaming. Look for it on a cable station. Maybe you can find it on the cable service Shudder or any of the other Screenbox, any of the other streaming services out there. The original 1976 Carrie. And be careful when you go to the prom.
If you have a taste for terror, you have a date with Carrie.
Now, there are many actors and actresses that I have fond remembrances of, whether they're alive or dead. And Paul Newman is one of them. Paul Newman was born in 1925 and died in 2008. He was an American actor, filmmaker, yes, race car driver, philanthropist, and an entrepreneur. He has won many awards, such as the Academy Award, 7 Golden Globes, Screen Actors Guild Award, nominated for 2 Grammy Awards, and a Tony Award, which is on stage. He was born in Ohio and showed an interest in theater as a child, and as a child performed in many productions. He attended the Yale School of Drama for a year before studying at the Actors Studio under Lee Strasberg. And his first starring Broadway role was in William Ang's Picnic in 1953. And his final stage production was in Thornton Wilder's classic Our Town in 2023. Now, I have not seen every Paul Newman film. Many of them I'm very, very fond of, which I will tell you about. So I'm hoping that you will check them out on Turner Classic Movies, which is a great cable station to go to for his films, or to a streaming service or some other cable service. But I'm just going to give a name of some of the films I would highly recommend, and then I'm going to go into detail about a few of them. I would highly recommend that you see Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, From the Terrace, Exodus, The Hustler, Sweet Bird of Youth, HUD, H-U-D, Harper, Torn Curtain, Cool Hand Luke, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Sometimes a Great Notion, The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean, The Sting, Slapshot, Fort Apache the Bronx, Absence of Malice, my favorite, The Verdict, my favorite. Harry and Son, The Color of Money, Nobody's Fool, Road to Perdition, which was his last film that he starred in with Tom Hanks. So let's dive into some of my favorites. For the sake of time, I'll only talk about a few. First would be the film that I had started the list with, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, which is a 1958 American drama based on a Pulitzer Prize-winning play by Tennessee Williams. And it is the story of this washed-up football player who's married to this very voluptuous woman, as played by Elizabeth Taylor, and they are having marital problems. And there's a rumor going around that the character portrayed by Paul Newman is more involved with his male best friend than just going out for a drink or watching TV. As the cliche goes, if you know what I mean. But it's never directly said because this film came out in 1958 and you could not talk about homosexuality at that time. You could not have that portrayed on a screen. So the story involves how he is in, his character is fighting with his wife, he's fighting with his father, he's fighting with his mother, he's fighting with his brother, and they are all gathered at the plantation, so to speak, of their father, as portrayed by Burl Ives, a wonderful actor, a wonderful performance of playing Big Daddy. And Big Daddy wants to really leave everything as he's approaching death to his son, as portrayed by Paul Newman, but all he wants to do is drink because he's covering up some type of secret or he's covering up some type of anger issue. So you just have to see the film. It's an amazing film. Elizabeth Taylor and Paul Newman are great together, and I think you'll find it highly enjoyable. Then there's the film From the Terrace that came out in 1960, and it stars Paul Newman, his wife of many, many years. He made many films with her, Joanne Woodward, Myrna Loy, and a young Barbara Eden. And it tells the story of an estranged son of a Pennsylvania factory owner who marries into a prestigious family and moves to New York to seek his fortune. But when he does that, his love between his first wife and him, his first wife as portrayed by Joanna Woodward, fizzles, and it's based on lies. And then he falls in love with another woman, and the turmoil that he goes through in trying to live the life that he wants to live and not pretend to be happy with somebody that he's not. It was the third film that he and Newman and Woodward made together. So that's a great one. The next one is also one of his first ones. In 1962, it's called The Sweet Bird of Youth. And it stars, of course, Paul Newman and one of my favorite actresses who has passed away, Geraldine Page. And it's based on a 1959 play, again, by Tennessee Williams. It plays the story of Paul Newman playing a gigolo who shacks up with this fading star, as portrayed by Geraldine Page, who is on this, road trip to escape her life and is swimming in a sea of alcohol, and she takes him along with her, and then they get back to the place where he had a girlfriend, as portrayed by Joanna Woodward, that he forever loved, but everybody in town thought he wasn't good enough for her. And then he comes back and tries to rekindle their relationship. And unfortunately, it ends in great dismay and tragedy. So, Sweet Bird of Youth. I would check that film out. Then I would highly recommend Cool Hand Luke. Cool Hand Luke is one right underneath the film The Verdict, one of my favorite Paul Newman films. Came out in 1967. It's an American prison drama. It starred Paul Newman as Cool Hand Luke, George Kennedy as Luke, and they're prisoners in a Florida prison camp who they, especially Cool Hand Luke, will not submit to the system. He fights it all the way. That is the basis of the film. It's a very anti-establishment film, which in many ways was making a reference to the opposition to the Vietnam War. And in the film, Luke, Cool Hand Luke, is sent to this prison farm to work, and he tries to escape all the time, and he's punished and punished and punished and punished, and he never quits until he meets his unfortunate, tragic end. And his relationship with the other prisoner at this camp is really great. And I think it's one of his best acting jobs he's ever done. Cool Hand Luke. So please try to check that out. And then we go to a little lighter film. I haven't really talked about much of those type of movies for Paul Newman. That would be Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which came out in 1969, an American Western buddy film, directed by George Roy Hill, who later on directed both those two in The Sting. It tells the story of Wild West outlaws. Paul Newman, who plays Butch, and his partner, the Sundance Kid, Robert Redford, who are on the run from a U.S. posse after a string of train robberies. And the pair of Sundance and Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid's lover, Catherine Ross, flee to Bolivia to escape the posse. And so it's a really great story of friendship, beating the odds. Very, very funny. Highly recommend you see that. Let's go on to another one, The Sting. Now, The Sting was also directed by George Roy Hill. It won many Academy Awards, came out in 1973. I just recently saw it again on Turner Classic Movies. It's set in 1936 and involves a very complicated plot by two professional grifters, that is, people who take advantage of others for money, Paul Newman and Robert Redford, to con this mega mob boss, as played by Robert Shaw. And the story is so compelling and so great, and it has a happy ending, so to speak, for the two grifters. But it's a wonderful story to see what extreme people will go to try to con somebody. And that's why it's called The Sting. So I recommend that. Another quieter, smaller film is one of his last films, 1994, the film called Nobody's Fool. And it's a comedy drama written and directed by Robert Benton. And it starred Paul Newman, Bruce Willis, Jessica Tandy, and Melanie Griffith. And he plays a down-on-his-luck guy who lives in a small town that never catches a break and rents a room from this older lady played by Jessica Tandy. And it's really the film of how he reconnects with his son after being estranged from him for many years, reconnecting with his ex-wife, finding out that he's a much better person than people have told him that he is. He's really not the loser as he's been painted out to be in this small town. And it has a human story that's so beautiful about how he connects with his young grandchild and his son, that I really recommend that you see Nobody's Fool. And finally, even though there are many more that I could talk about, I am going to mention the film The Verdict. The Verdict, as I said, is my number one go-to film for Paul Newman. And in this film, and he won the Academy Award for this film, he, again, very much like in Nobody's Fool, plays a down-and-out lawyer who is an alcoholic, whose marriage is in shambles, whose law practice is going nowhere. And he is what they call an ambulance chaser, trying to drum up business through lawsuits. And his friend, who's also a lawyer, gives him this case of a woman who's in a coma after giving birth, and supposedly she was given the wrong medication that induced this coma that has made her become a living vegetable. And the story involves how he rises out of himself and sheds the alcoholism and starts to believe in himself and in his client, this woman who's in a coma, that she was wronged by the medical profession. And he will do whatever he can, no matter what the obstacles are. And there are many, many, many obstacles that get into his way. He's going to get vindication for her, and he does. And his courtroom scenes are absolutely stupendous when he is speaking on behalf of his client. And the verdict, the title, means so much more than an actual verdict in a courtroom. It's also the verdict for his own personal life, how he's going to rise above the shame, the alcoholism, the horrible personal life, and become a better man. If nothing else, of all these films that I mentioned, and I might do a part 2, like I said I would do for Jane Fonda, see The Verdict. It's on Turner Classic Movies. I'm sure you could get it on a streaming service. Paul Newman, his Academy Award-winning role in The Verdict. So those are just some of my films that I'm going to mention today that I think you should see of Paul Newman, because nobody had blue eyes. Nobody like Paul Newman. He was electrifying. So there you have it, folks. What will I talk about next time? Oh, it could be a TV show. Oh, it could be another movie. Oh, I could talk about spiritual journey. Oh, I could talk about pet peeves. Oh, maybe I could talk about school memories. You just never know. So I hope you'll join me again. Thank you for spending time at the dinner table with me. I look forward to seeing you again. And until we meet again, make sure that you wipe your mouth off with your napkin. I know the meal was good. Bye-bye.
Television dramas and comedic reviews, pet peeves buzzing like honeydew blues, poetry sprinkled like salt on a dish, every word served with a twist and a swish. Belly up to the table, my friend. The feast of thought will never end, from travels far to a spiritual climb. Morsels of musing served in rhyme.
Mr. B's Dinner Party is hosted by Scott Bertelson, edited and produced by Troy Thompson, recorded and distributed at Sunnyside Farm Studios, and platformed by Buzzsprout.
Conversations flowing like fine red wine, world journeys mapped with tales divine. He's hosting a dinner for your hungry mind, a banquet of life where you can unwind. Belly up to the table, my friend. The feast of thought will never end, from travels far to a spiritual climb. Morsels of musings served in rhyme.
Subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share with your friends. Listen and enjoy every other Wednesday. Conversational Morsels for the Mind on Mr. B's Dinner Party.